Hi, my name is Ron Means, and currently I'm General Manager of Austin Cab Company. Actually, I'm the founder. And let me tell you how I'm the founder. I'm going to give you an example of this in the beginning. In the beginning, I started off as a cop. I was working for Travis County. We were trying to follow people around. They kept spotting our cars because we had those long whip antennas on the back of the cars, and they were unmarked. They weren't marked cars. This is back in the early 70s. And a dude lived across the street from me. I used to cut his grass. He was the owner of the cab company. And in the back of my mind, I was always thinking, I wonder what that business is like. So I got this brilliant idea. Hey, let me go borrow a cab. Let me tell one of my friends I'm thinking about driving a cab, which in the back of my mind, I really was thinking about driving a cab, but it was something that had never come to fruition. And I went and borrowed a cab, started driving, threw the other two cops in the back seat of the car, and we followed those people. And they wasn't really up to nothing, which is a good thing because we were guessing they were up to something bad and they weren't. But after I got through doing that, I started picking up fares. And I liked it. It was fun. I got to meet a bunch of new people, and I got to enjoy life, and I got to make money in the process of doing it. And it was fantastic. Next thing you know, I had bought 3 cabs, and I was still a cop. And next thing you know, I bought 10 more cabs. I had 13 cabs. And then I graduated from college, and then I got into it with the manager of the cab company, who I'm really sorry I did that. I was wrong. Picked up this guy named Marshall Levitt. Marshall Levitt was blind. And I didn't know Marshall Levitt at the time. He was just at the airport and he had this dog, and I had just got through cleaning my carpet because somebody else had a dog in the car and it had defecated all on in my back seat. So I had to replace the carpet and everything. And he got in the car with this dog, wanted to get in with the dog. I said, no, I can't take you. You can ride in one of those cars. Behind me had rubber floor mats. You can ride with them. And so I didn't know about the 1954 Rehab Act. They didn't have Americans with Disability Act back then. This was called the 1954 Rehab Act, where you had to not discriminate. And I believe originally it was supposed to have been the Civil Rights Act, but they decided to help the handicapped people before they helped black people. I believe that. That's my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. And at any rate, I got in trouble. And the owner of the cab company, well, it wasn't the owner, the manager's name was Otis Axel. We became really good friends. We were already good friends, but we really became closer friends after this happened, because he wanted to berate me for refusing this guy. Well, they had never trained us, told us, no one had ever passed out any leaflet to anybody or told anybody what the rules were regarding transporting handicapped people. I just was ignorant of that. But like they say, ignorance is no excuse. Just because I didn't know doesn't mean I wasn't supposed to know. And I probably should have known, but I didn't. And I'd been driving cab for maybe about 5 years, four years when this happened to me. And it was in January of 1978 when this happened. And I remember when it was, because I had just got me a Corvette. I had just gone through a cataclysmic time in my life, which is the reason I bought the Corvette. And then this happened. And I was like, screw this. I don't need this job. So I told Mr. Axel to take this cab company and shove it where the sun don't shine. I took my 13 cabs out of service, sold some of them to some friends of mine, did whatever I did, and went on about my business. Well, that was one of the dumbest things I ever did. It was really stupid, because what it did is it sent me on a path hurtling down a mountain without a life jacket or a parachute. And I couldn't afford to keep my house anymore. I couldn't afford to pay the car payments on my Corvette. I couldn't afford to do a lot of the things, but I was able to graduate from college because the college wasn't costing me anything. I went to Houston Tillotson. My father was a professor there, and my tuition and everything had been paid by him. So I graduated from college, and then I went to Dallas and got a job in law enforcement up there. But it was stupid. I let my emotions, and I didn't like him berating me over the radio. And the wonderful thing about Mr. Axel, now I'm not mimicking him, but I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna be Mr. Axel. you need to come to the stand. That's how he used to talk. When he'd get nervous and mad, he would start stuttering. And so I never mocked him. I went on down there, and he started trying to tell me what I did wrong. I said, you know what, I'm sick of this job. I really don't care. You take this cab company and shove it where the sun don't shine. I'm out of here. And I saw on his face utter disappointment. And it wasn't until later I realized what I'd done. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about me driving cab. It wasn't about all the other stuff I was doing, because I still was a cop. It wasn't about that. It was about Mr. Axel was friends of my parents. My parents in Austin back then. Austin is a small little community, and East Austin was a really small little community, and everybody knew everybody else. And I had forgotten that. It just, maybe I didn't forget it. Maybe I just didn't think about it. I was, 23, 24 years old, something like that. Born in 53, 1978, what's that, 25 years old? And I was going through, almost 25, I was going through all kinds of stuff. And I just didn't think about the repercussions and the domino and what was going to happen to me. I was mad, and I just was feeling really good. And then I had this happen, this blind guy call in on me. But then I come to find out the blind guy didn't call in on me. It was the cab driver that took him that called in on me. Her name was Carolyn. Carol or Carolyn. And she was a white female that was going with one of the cab drivers. And I guess he encouraged her to call in on me. We all drove for the same company. And that really pissed me off. But it wasn't until later that I found this out. So at the end of the day, I went on about my business. I went to Dallas. By the time I came back, these people that owned the cab company didn't own it anymore. Mr. Anderson had bought it, and I knew Mr. Anderson all my life. MJ Anderson, his son Jack, his daughter Sandra, his wife Ada. We were all kind of friends, and my mother didn't care too much for them because they were really Republicans, and my mother and dad are really Democrats, straight up, just like that. Now, they call themselves conservative Democrats, but in reality, that means you're a Republican. And John Connally, that was back when John Connally was the governor, and John Connally went from being a Democrat to being a Republican. You remember when he went on after he got shot with JFK, and he went on to become the Treasury Secretary and all this under one of those presidents. John Connally was a Republican. So, at any rate, after all of this is said and done, I came back and I had to go and eat crow. Because I didn't want to be a cop anymore at that time. I wanted to get back in the cab business. And Mr. Anderson was the owner, but Mr. Axel was the manager. And so Mr. Axel was still the manager. And I was like, oh God, I got to go and eat crow. I got to go eat crow. I wonder, is he going to take me back? I wonder if I go and apologize, will he take me back? Well, only one way to find out. I'm not a child, I'm a man. So I went to Mr. Axel's house. And, you know, I knew where he lived. I went over to his house, knocked on the door, opened the door, and I said, look, I want to apologize for speaking like that to you. I'm really sorry. I didn't really mean it. I was going through a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, there's always a reason why you go off on people. And everyone has an excuse. So I'm having a bad hair day. Haha, am I? But you know what I mean. I heard that yesterday from my daughter. She said she couldn't do something for me because she was having a bad hair day, which is really funny. But you know, I mean, your dog died, your car was flat, for whatever your reasons are why you can't do what you said you would do and what you're supposed to do, obligated to do. You make excuses. And I learned at that point, I didn't want to make any more excuses. And I just straight out apologized. I'm sorry. Hope you give me another chance. And he said, okay. I don't have a number though. You know, and you have to have a number in the cab business in Austin in order for you to operate a taxi cab. It's just not as simple as you go out and buy a car, put the equipment in and go. You have to have permission from the city to operate a specific number of permits. And so there were no permits available. So I had to go to an old friend named Algie Lee Collins, who was a really good friend of mine. And he taught me a lot that I knew in the cab business. And he sold me a car for like 5 times what it was worth. So he screwed me. But he helped me. Because I got that car, and I worked that car, and then I took the money, every penny I made from that car, I took it and bought another car. And I took that car out of service because it was junk. And I bought a newer car. And then I started going to the auction, and I started buying more cars. And I worked myself up way past that 13 cabs that I had. And I was more focused on the job. And I really enjoyed what I was doing. I got back in law enforcement back in 1987 when my friend Don Nesby asked me to come work for him. So I went back to T-Close, took my test, reinvigorated my Texas peace officer's license, and I went back to work for him, helped build his motorcycle, Constable Precinct 1 motorcycle division, which no one had ever had before. And I started financing the motorcycles and doing stuff like that. It was fun, and I enjoyed what I did. But at the end of the day, I wound up quitting because I wasn't making any money. By then, I had a wife, a kid, bills, a house, all these other things going on, and the cab business was going pretty good. And I forgot to tell you, back in 1984, I wound up buying a cab company. So I came back in 83, bought the cab company in 84, in December of 84, and I've had it ever since. But I have partners. I'm not the sole owner. I have partners, business partners, which are my family. The reason I'm telling this story is there's always a reason why you act out, why you get mad at somebody, or you curse somebody out that you love or that you really need, and you don't know you need them. But you find out later on, wow, I really messed up. I really put my foot in it this time. But you can always come back and say you're sorry. But you just saying you're sorry doesn't mean anything if you keep doing the same thing over and over. You got to learn from the mistakes you're making. You got to learn from helping people that aren't available for you to help you back. You got to learn, and it's in that learning process of making the mistake. It's nothing wrong with making a mistake, but if you keep making the same mistake over and over, it's something wrong with you. It ain't nothing wrong with that mistake, because there's going to be countless people making mistakes along the way. So that's what I gleaned from that. And I'm glad I'm in this business. I don't know how much longer this business is going to last, though. City Council decided to, in the good Christian faith way that we practice here in America, decided to go on and have mercy and grant a bunch of permits to some new company that's never been in business before. And then they left it up to the transportation director, the guy they think is supposed to be the expert in Austin, named Robert Spiller. Well, he doesn't know anything about taxi cab business. He's never been in the taxi cab business. He doesn't know the impact of his decisions. He doesn't know anything about the taxi cab business. But he would go and decide and make a decision to go and give permits all out to this new company, and he gave them 500 something permits. Well, Yellow Cab didn't have that many permits in the beginning when Yellow Cab is in operation. And they're running at like a 50% level. And so why would you give someone who's never been in business that many permits? And we had 240 permits. And we're down to maybe about 180. That's about what we're operating as, because we lost a bunch of the lazy drivers that work just the airport and won't go out to help get calls and all of that, to go to these people that don't have a dispatch system, aren't operating wheelchair vans, aren't doing all the rules and stuff and regulations that these are called performance measures. And we have to do a certain level of performance in order to have, and everyone is supposed to abide by the same rules. But these guys, they've been given a moratorium on providing by the same rules. And, I just love to see somebody go to jail. Okay, to be honest with you, I don't want to see you get fired. I want to see you go to jail, because what you've done is you're doing everything you can to destroy the cab business. You're mad because Uber left. I voted for Uber to leave, but my one vote won't matter. But it was 75,000 people that voted, and 56% of those people said bye-bye. Don't blame me. Don't blame me because you lost the vote. Just wait a few years and vote again. I'm sure you'll win next time. But you don't need to destroy the businesses and the people that are paying bills and taxes and everything in the process. They're messing up the cab industry. And I'm just upset about it. And this is my after New Year's Day event. This is January the 2nd, 2017, and I just felt a need to vent. And I like talking cab business in the process. I know you might be confused, like, who does this guy think he is? He getting on TV and doing this? Well, I just think I'm Ron Means. And all I can do is be myself. I'm sorry. I told Mr. Axel to take the cab company and shove it where the sun don't shine, but pretty much everything else, I'm very proud of. That's the one thing that I can think of that I'm not proud of. But it all worked out. You know, on a sad note, when Mr. Axel died, out of all the people Mr. Axel helped and met along the way, and he was a manager, I know he was a manager in 1964, because when I used to cut Mr. Knox's grass, he would talk about Mr. Axel. He would tell me he planned to lead a cab company to Mr. Axel, and that Mr. Axel was his man, and he was working for him almost for free. He would brag to me about Mr. Axel, so I pretty much knew Mr. Axel before I ever met him, even beside the fact that my parents knew him. But the sad thing is, when Mr. Axel died, my mother, my wife, and we were the only people associated with the cab company that was at his funeral. That's it. And I'm ashamed of that. And all these people that are still around, I could name them, but I'm not gonna. They know who they are. That was just very shameful. So I'm glad that I came back, apologized to him, made my peace. He helped me. He respected me. We were friends. I'm glad I had that moment, because those moments are really hard to get, no matter what. And you know, I can think of a few other old guys in the business that I respected, like Leroy McDonald, Abraham Hamphill, James Irvin Norwood. You know, those guys. Earl Alexander, really good cab driver. I could think of a lot of people that drove cab, but those are the guys. They stand out. They stand out to me as being just wonderful friends, hard workers, dependable. You know, you could count on like a clock. And I'm glad that I met them. It's just really made, up to now, my 63 years worth being here. So, Happy New Year. Hope everything works out all right with everybody. I hope Donald Trump makes us great again. I hope that the cab business can recover from these idiots working for the city of Austin. I'm just hoping and praying. But I'm not going to stand by idle while I'm waiting, hoping and praying. I'm going to try to do something to make it happen. So God bless you all, and God bless America.